The image of a concrete monolith with a heavy steel door has become synonymous with safety for us. We have grown accustomed to seeing bunkers as the last line of defense, humanity's technological triumph over its own destructiveness. It seems that all we need to do is lock the door, turn on the filters, and wait out the storm.
This idea is sold to us as civilization's final insurance policy.
But steel and concrete are merely a screen for collective fear. If you look at these structures without trepidation, you'll find a reality devoid of heroic glamour. A reality where life support systems become traps and salvation itself turns into slow degradation, melting eternal ice inside an impregnable vault. Political elites locked in concrete bags with no mandate to govern. Hotels beneath which state-level secrets have rotted for years. Nations that have turned their land into a sieve for the sake of the illusion of neutrality. Billionaires building prisons with gold-plated toilets where the main threat will not be missiles, but their own security guards. A bunker is not just a shelter. It is a complex social and technical experiment. It is a body trying to survive in conditions where the environment itself becomes poison.
It is an instrument of power that works only as long as there are people outside who can be controlled.
By the end of this narrative, you will understand why these 7 structures look exactly the way they do. You will see the price that must be paid for attempting to cheat the story's ending, and you will realize that the true fragility of the system lies in the very attempt to preserve it absolutely. Let's return to the starting point, to the moment when fear of the future hadn't yet been cast in concrete and the concept of survival at any cost had only just begun to take shape in blueprints. Svalbard, 78 degrees north latitude. Here, in the deep permafrost, humans decided to create a vast and reliable archive of life. The global seed vault on Spitsbergen is often called a veritable Noah's Ark for unique plants. The exterior of this unusual structure resembles a concrete tooth that pierces menacingly into the snow-covered slope of a northern mountain. This architectural form conveys to the whole world the idea of absolute stability and complete geological tranquility. The location was chosen because of its incredible remoteness from zones of military conflict and its high tectonic stability. The logic behind the creation of this ark was extremely simple and clear. The engineers reasoned as follows: if our civilization suddenly falls victim to the blows of fate, we must preserve the foundation for its rebirth.
If a nuclear winter or global climate collapse permanently destroys traditional agriculture, it is here that the genetic code of our survival will be safely stored.
Countries from all over the world send duplicates of their valuable seeds here in sealed black boxes. The facility was originally designed exclusively as a completely passive system. It did not require people for constant maintenance or external energy, as the mountain's cold was supposed to do all the work for us. But the massive concrete structure of the vault was not originally designed to withstand the rapid changes on our planet. The permafrost seemed truly eternal to its creators only in their beautiful engineering blueprints. In reality, it turned out to be an extremely unstable and capricious substance susceptible to the influence of warm air. In the year 2017, less than 10 years after the grand opening, disaster struck. An abnormal Arctic heat wave caused heavy rain to fall instead of the usual snow. Huge streams of meltwater broke through directly into the repository's long, 100-meter-long entrance tunnel and froze there. The illusion of a reliable and completely self-sufficient refuge collapsed in an instant. It turned out that the concrete sarcophagus, buried deep in the ice, now required constant and very active human intervention. The water did not reach the seeds themselves, but this situation greatly alarmed scientists around the world.
To save the priceless genetic resource from the destructive moisture, additional waterproof walls had to be built urgently.
Workers also installed powerful drainage pump systems to remove the water. The passive cold storage facility rapidly transformed into a complex facility requiring round-the-clock technical monitoring. Each such infrastructure rescue added a whole new cost to the project to protect the seeds from the heat, which now penetrates deeper and deeper into the rock. The artificial cooling systems had to be significantly upgraded. Engineers laid special pipes to artificially freeze the soil around the entrance tunnel. Now, this former monument to natural stability constantly consumes a huge amount of electricity. This means it has become firmly tied to the island's local energy infrastructure. This infrastructure is itself very fragile and depends on regular fuel supplies. Today, the global seed vault on Spitsbergen is far from just a quiet seed warehouse inside a mountain. It is a stark reminder of our grave mistake and our overestimation of the forces of nature. The vault now exists as an incredibly complex engineering system that battles the environment on a daily basis. Yet, according to the original plan, the station was supposed to blend harmoniously into this very environment. We created a smart tool for the potential restart of the world after a catastrophe. But this very tool of salvation now constantly requires costly resuscitation. In the U.S. state of Virginia, deep beneath the thick, solid blue shale of Mount Weather, lies a remarkable facility. For decades, this place officially did not exist on maps, and any talk of it was strictly suppressed. Mount Weather is not just a protected concrete bunker, it is a veritable underground mirror city. It has its own lit streets, fully equipped hospitals, an autonomous water purification system, and powerful power plants. Inside, it even operates under its own strict legal framework and security service. This is the main headquarters of the U.S. government's continuity of government system. The secret facility was built during the era of widespread nuclear paranoia in the 1950s as a reliable backup capital for the country. Its colossal scale was dictated by a single, yet extremely important task.
The bunker was designed to guarantee the preservation of the United States governing structure following a nuclear war.
The architects prepared for a scenario in which Washington would be reduced to a lifeless, radioactive wasteland. But the structure of this massive bunker was not originally designed to save democracy or ordinary citizens. It was strictly designed to preserve the highest political and military hierarchy. The implementation of such an ambitious project took place under incredibly strict restrictions and the strictest secrecy. The technology of the time required enormous amounts of open space to house bulky communication systems. Workers had to carve out entire artificial caverns of incredible size in the solid rock. These caverns were then filled with heavy steel structures and massive blast-proof doors. It was a complex compromise between maximum physical protection and the need to maintain control of a vast country. The best and most powerful computers of the time were used to ensure communications. The illusion of Mount Weather's incredible durability was successfully maintained for a long time by the regime of strictest government secrecy. But over the years, the burden on the underground facility inevitably grew, not only in purely technical terms, but also symbolically. In the modern era of the internet, smartphones and round-the-clock satellite surveillance, hiding an entire city under a mountain became absolutely impossible. Journalists began actively publishing articles and investigations about the secret base. The massive bunker quickly became a frightening symbol of a shadow government for ordinary Americans.
It began to arouse persistent suspicion and distrust among the very people it was theoretically supposed to save.
The critical overload of this closed command system occurred on September 11, 2001. In the face of a real and unpredictable crisis, it became abundantly clear that the old plans no longer worked. Evacuating the political elite into a safe concrete bunker is by no means the salvation of a bewildered country, but its instant decapitation. The top leadership found itself locked away in an isolated location deep underground. From there, it was extremely difficult to exercise public authority in real time and reassure the nation. The leaders realized that, in a moment of panic, the people want to see their government, not hide it. The main cost of seeking refuge in such a bunker is the leadership's complete political isolation from the real world. The expensive modern renovation of Mount Weather transformed it into a state-of-the-art digital communications hub. However, even cutting-edge technology could not solve the most fundamental conceptual problem of this place. If an elected government cowardly retreats underground, it instantly loses all connection with its people. The facility has survived successfully. It has been completely renovated and is constantly ready for an attack. But it has become a tool for preserving the administrative apparatus, not the state as a living organism.
We're losing the data stream on Sector 4. Reroute power now.
In 1958, a strange construction project began beneath the wing of the luxurious Greenbrier Hotel in West Virginia. Guests at this elite resort carefree enjoyed playing golf and soaking in the healing mineral waters. They had absolutely no idea that right beneath their feet, workers were pouring thousands of tons of thick concrete. The authorities officially announced the construction of a new, spacious wing for commercial exhibitions and conferences. In reality, it was merely a clever architectural cover. The US government was secretly building a massive secret bunker for the entire US Congress. This grandiose structure represented the pinnacle of the dual-purpose concept during the height of the Cold War. The luxurious hotel served as the perfect and highly plausible cover for the government facility. The numerous workers, construction materials, and complex logistics raised no suspicions among vacationers. All of this was skillfully disguised as a completely ordinary and routine expansion of commercial real estate. But it was precisely this salvation through thick camouflage that immediately created an incredible internal fragility throughout the entire system.
The massive bunker was physically integrated into a functioning civilian structure.
Such a bold decision made the secret facility extremely vulnerable to any accident or simple mistake. Nevertheless, the illusion remained absolutely perfect for a full 30 years. Inside the thick concrete walls were comfortable quarters for hundreds of congressmen and their aides. Engineers equipped spacious halls for holding emergency government meetings following a nuclear strike. A professional television studio was even built there with a fake backdrop of the Capitol for addresses to the nation. Huge underground warehouses stored massive supplies of provisions, which were regularly replenished. But this incredible system gradually began to weigh heavily on itself. Maintaining such a massive secret facility directly beneath a popular operating hotel required precision. Dozens of loyal employees led double lives for years, pretending to be ordinary resort technicians. The crisis for the bunker did not come from a sudden missile strike, as everyone had expected. The end came from a single high-profile journalistic investigation in 1992. The influential Washington Post revealed the actual existence of this massive shelter to the entire world. In that very moment, the facility, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, completely lost its sole purpose. Without strict secrecy, the complex proved utterly useless to the country's top leadership. The secure bunker ceased to be a life-saving refuge and instantly became a heavy burden on the budget.
Any attempt to salvage this ambitious project was completely impossible under the new political realities.
The US government was forced to immediately and permanently decommission the facility. All classified equipment was quickly dismantled and transported to an unknown location. Today, The famous Greenbrier Bunker is simply a popular and unusual tourist attraction. Its massive steel doors are now wide open to anyone who wishes to enter. Anyone can freely descend underground if they are willing to pay the admission fee. This massive concrete structure completely lost its purpose as soon as the veil was lifted. The current state of this bunker most closely resembles a grim museum of paranoia. We see steel bunks and decontamination showers that were never used for their intended purpose. It is a monument to an era when security was attempted to be bought at the cost of total lies, and an example of how a system crumbles at the slightest touch of the truth. Switzerland is a unique and one-of-a-kind country, the only one in the world capable of sheltering 100% of its population underground. Local shelters are designed to provide a safe place for absolutely every resident. This is by no means some historical accident or a crazy whim of military architects. It is a strict state security doctrine that the government has elevated to an absolute. After the end of World War II, the Swiss finally understood one very important truth. Their famous neutrality is worth exactly as much as the amount of reinforced concrete they can pour into their mountains. The birth of this massive idea was a direct response to the growing global threat. In 1963, the country passed a strict and unprecedented law. It strictly required every new residential building to have its own reliable underground shelter. If a developer could not build one, they were required to pay a massive tax toward the construction of a public bunker. It was an incredible nationwide project with absolutely no parallels in world history. The entire country literally turned into one giant construction site for many decades. The implementation of this bold plan took place in the context of a very rugged and complex mountainous landscape. The massive mountains became not just natural defenses, but a crucial part of a complex engineering scheme. The beautiful Swiss Alps were literally carved up by deep tunnels and secret storage facilities. Hidden within the rock formations were massive hospitals, fully prepared to receive thousands of wounded. Engineers even built hidden hangars for fighter jets that could take off directly from the cliffs. It was a perfectly ideal defense system, completely enclosed, self-sufficient, and intelligently distributed across the territory. But over time, the massive concrete structure of this system began to experience a different kind of heavy strain. It had become an economic burden on the budget of a perfectly peaceful and prosperous country. Maintaining thousands of empty bunkers in a state of constant readiness costs billions of francs annually. Complex ventilation systems are gradually aging and require regular, costly repairs. Huge concrete structures require constant monitoring for cracks, and the air filters need to be replaced. The fortress-like country unexpectedly found itself held financially hostage by its own gigantic foundation. Gradually, a very interesting and logical shift in perception emerged in society. The bunkers were originally built exclusively to protect the population from penetrating radiation and blast waves. But now, these sturdy structures have been actively repurposed by enterprising Swiss for peaceful purposes. They have been converted into massive, cool storage facilities for aging the famous cheese and secure data centers. Some shelters have even been transformed into unusual underground hotels for thrill seekers. The nation survived the Cold War unscathed, but its protective layer has begun to rapidly evolve. The new purpose of these facilities is dictated by modern realities and practicality. This is the direct use of former military infrastructure for civilian survival under capitalism. Switzerland today is a striking example of how a safety system changes the very structure of society. From childhood, local people have grown accustomed to living peacefully, literally above a concrete void. This instills in citizens a unique mindset and a subconscious sense of security. reinforced by meters of reinforced concrete. But the price of this security is a constant toll of fear that the Swiss have been paying for over half a century. Deep within the harsh southern Urals lies the most mysterious site in modern Russia. Directly beneath the majestic Mount Yamantau lies a colossal underground structure. Global intelligence agencies know of it solely through various indirect clues and satellite imagery. For many years, foreign experts have recorded massive volumes of excavated rock in the area. Nearby, the completely closed city of Mezhgori was built, with reinforced military security along its entire perimeter. There are never any official tours for journalists or high-profile government press releases here. The entire area around the mountain is a zone of absolute state-imposed silence. The logic behind the creation of the Yamantau base is one of an incredible and unimaginable scale. According to various military experts, this facility is capable of autonomously accommodating tens of thousands of people. This is by no means a simple, comfortable refuge for the country's top political leadership. It is a veritable underground region with a gigantic and highly complex internal infrastructure. It was specifically designed to function seamlessly under conditions of complete physical isolation. This mountain complex was the military's direct response to the terrifying concept of a decapitating nuclear strike. The leadership of this vast country needed a guaranteed location from which to govern the state after an attack. Large-scale construction began back in the Soviet era at the height of the tense Cold War. Work was carried out in the strictest secrecy by specially selected engineers and builders. The mountain range was ideally suited for protection against a direct hit from the most powerful warheads. Nature itself provided the base's creators with an impenetrable stone shield of incredible thickness. But what is most striking is that large-scale work continued actively even after the change in the political system. Construction did not stop during the periods of the most severe economic crisis of the 1990s. The entire country was then experiencing an acute shortage of money and basic foodstuffs. However, the secret mountain regularly received the necessary generous funding from the budget. This very clearly demonstrates the true priorities of the government at that time. Preserving this crucial strategic hub proved more important than the current social well-being of citizens. The gigantic facility was originally designed for the harsh conditions of a global nuclear war. Fortunately for humanity, this terrible global catastrophe never came to pass. Nevertheless, this enormous underground city continues to exist and regularly consume resources. The main hidden burden of Mount Yamantau today is the dense information vacuum surrounding it. The facility's strict secrecy inevitably creates a thick aura of rumors and paranoia around it. Western military analysts consistently view this uncertainty as a very serious and hidden threat. Russian authorities traditionally maintain absolute silence and refuse to make any direct comments. This closed system effectively functions as a powerful tool of psychological deterrence. It instills a primal fear in potential adversaries by the mere fact of its existence. And it works perfectly, provided there is nothing inside the mountain but empty concrete halls. The price of this peculiar national lifeline is endless investment in the invisible. We do not know the exact current technical condition of the facility deep beneath the Ural cliffs, but we can certainly judge its incredible complexity by the scale of the surface infrastructure. This colossal concrete structure can function only because of its invisibility. As soon as absolutely everything about Mount Yamantau becomes known, its strategic defensive value will vanish. Any declassified base instantly becomes an easy target for modern precision-guided weapons. Therefore, maintaining the strictest secrecy becomes the primary and most costly task for its creators. For the sake of this secrecy, A special security regime is enforced throughout the entire mountainous region. Today, Yamantau exists in the public consciousness not merely as a massive military structure. This hidden complex has long since become an independent and very grim symbol. It is the physical embodiment of the idea that those in power must always have a reliable back door. The state elite need a safe place, completely out of reach of the devastated outside world. The mountain has become a kind of historical monument to a bygone, anxious era. It was a time when the scale of the structure was directly proportional to the magnitude of its creator's fear. While state-run secret facilities are built to preserve the entire political system, private bunkers serve a different purpose. The shelters of the Silicon Valley era represent the wealthiest people's attempt to permanently escape the crumbling system. The owners of massive tech corporations and hedge fund managers are seeking ways to retreat. They are buying up abandoned underground missile silos en masse across the vast expanses of Kansas. Billionaires are hiring the best architects and building luxurious palaces underground in distant New Zealand. The logic of these influential people is crystal clear and at its core incredibly selfish. When the familiar world above finally burns to the ground, they plan to ride out the storm in comfort. The wealthy sincerely believe they can simply buy themselves a new, safe start. The interior architecture of these closed facilities is striking in its complete disconnect from objective reality. Behind heavy steel airlock doors, a meter thick lie far from military-style bunks. The space is furnished with the highest possible level of luxury and technological sophistication. The entire project is conceived from the outset as an ultra-reliable, elite, top-class hotel. Inside such shelters, there are modern movie theaters and huge entertainment halls. There are magnificent swimming pools with smart systems that simulate natural sunlight. The wealthy build endless hydroponic gardens to grow fresh vegetables and nutrient-rich greens. A mandatory feature is a massive climate-controlled warehouse for storing elite collectible wines. With all this comfort, the bunker is technically capable of withstanding a direct hit from a heavy aerial bomb. The beautiful illusion of complete self-sufficiency is successfully sold to wealthy clients for tens of millions of dollars. But in practice, the ideal implementation of such an ambitious plan runs into a serious obstacle. There is one insurmountable internal limitation that people don't like to talk about openly. Construction companies never mention this fatal problem in their glossy advertising brochures. Absolutely any complex autonomous life support system categorically requires qualified personnel. Without competent human maintenance, all this smart electronics will very quickly break down. An autonomous bunker simply cannot exist without an entire army of hired maintenance staff. To survive underground, the elite will need competent engineers and highly experienced medical professionals. They will require professional agronomists for the daily care of complex hydroponic farms. And most importantly, billionaires will vitally need strong and well-armed security. The expensive illusion of absolute safety instantly crumbles into tiny pieces. This happens the very moment we introduce the human factor into the perfect technical equation. At their elite closed-door meetings, bunker owners are increasingly discussing not the thickness of the poured concrete. Now they are far more concerned with reliable psychological mechanisms for controlling living people. In a devastated outside world, virtual money in a bank account will lose all meaning. A complex question arises: how to maintain real power in a cramped and closed-off space? How to make a stern security chief obey their orders unquestioningly after the end of the world? After all, the monopoly on violence will end up in the hands of ordinary guys with assault rifles, not former billionaires. The critical overload of this artificial social system occurs even before the global crisis begins. Bunker owners are deeply afraid of a future revolt by their own staff. To guarantee the loyalty of their personnel, the wealthy are forced to resort to extreme measures. They want to build brutal systems of internal suppression and control into their shelters from the very beginning. Complex biometric locks are installed on warehouses storing water and food, which only the owner can open. Insane ideas about using special electronic collars for workers are being actively pursued. Plans are in place to install autonomous combat turrets in long underground corridors to protect against their own security guards. The massive, high-tech structure of the bunker is rapidly turning into a paranoid and deadly labyrinth. In such a bleak place, the main threat to life no longer comes from outside, from radiation or looters. The greatest danger now lurks constantly from within, among carefully selected trusted individuals. The high price of this selfish personal salvation is becoming a hostage to one's own architecture. In an attempt to escape the mad chaos of a ruined world, a person locks themselves forever in a trap. The billionaire voluntarily locks himself in his personal high-tech luxury prison. The concrete bunker itself successfully survives the terrible blows of nature or a long nuclear winter. Expensive filtration systems reliably and quietly circulate purified fresh air through the corridors. But the fragile social structure within this artificial community inevitably deteriorates. It rapidly descends to the primitive level of a wild, aggressive, and uncontrollable pack. Except that this particular cave-dwelling pack will be incredibly well armed with modern weapons. The current dismal state of the entire private bunker industry is painfully obvious to analysts. It is a banal, yet extremely profitable trade in the deep-seated fear of the world's bewildered elites. Construction companies successfully sell very wealthy people the false hope of guaranteed personal salvation. These are grandiose underground structures that will never in their lifetime withstand a true test of reality. Their creators are attempting to solve the most complex problem of human nature using purely technical means. They stubbornly pour their blind confidence in the omnipotence of vast capital into sturdy, reinforced concrete. These people sincerely believe that one can simply and easily buy their way out of the end of the world. Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado is perhaps the most straightforward Cold War facility. There is no disguise as a hotel or warehouse here. It is a solid granite rock into which the U.S. military machine has burrowed to create the nerve center of air defense. NORAD was designed for a single task: to watch the sky and wait for Soviet missiles. The complex's design was dictated by the physics of a nuclear explosion. To survive a direct hit from a megaton warhead, simply going underground isn't enough. A seismic wave would shatter any rigid structure, so the engineers made a radical decision. 15 three-story buildings inside the mountain do not touch the rock. They stand on 1,000 giant steel springs, each weighing half a ton. Implementing this insane project required the removal of 700,000 tons of granite. It was a city suspended in a void, capable of cushioning the apocalypse. The illusion of absolute invulnerability was maintained for decades. Behind 25-ton blast-proof doors, operators watched the radars around the clock, believing that the mountain would protect them from anything. But the threat did not come from the sky, but from technology. In the early 2000s, the system experienced information overload. The era of satellite communications and terabytes of data streams demanded new capabilities. It turned out that the granite shell of Cheyenne Mountain provided excellent protection against radiation, but catastrophically blocked the passage of modern radio signals. The bunker became cut off. The crisis led to the Air and Space Defense Command simply packing up and moving to a conventional ground-based facility in 2006. The most secure bunker on the planet turned out to be uneconomical. The facility's structure no longer met data transmission speeds. The mountain was placed on hot standby, effectively decommissioned. The attempt to save it came suddenly. In the 2000s, the military recognized a new threat, an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, a weapon capable of burning out all microelectronics on the continent. And here, the heavy, old-fashioned granite of Cheyenne Mountain found a second life. The thickness of the rock and the steel lining of the tunnels act as a giant Faraday cage, impervious to EMP. The complex's new form is a giant server room. People no longer play the leading role here. The facility was revived not to protect generals, but silicon chips and hard drives. Mount Cheyenne today is a monument to how old fears return with new technological advances, forcing us to hide our most fragile assets under millions of tons of cold stone. We began with the image of a concrete monolith, a frozen symbol of absolute security. But now that the heavy doors have slammed shut and the filters have purified the air, reality looks different. None of these facilities has remained what it was intended to be. The permafrost of Spitsbergen has begun to thaw, requiring industrial refrigerators. Government complexes have turned into isolated islands of communication. Hotel basements have become tourist attractions, and the mountains of Switzerland, a national burden. The Billionaires' engineering triumph has turned into a paranoid trap, and the spring-suspended granite city of NORAD has become nothing more than a giant server enclosure. The desire to preserve life, to shield it from decay, has its physical limits. The more complex the protective system, the more fragile the structure within becomes. Every effort to reinforce the walls creates new vulnerabilities in communications, energy supply, or in the human psyche itself. A bunker does not stop time. It merely compresses its pressure, focusing destructive forces within a confined space. Power, fear, and ambition carry immense weight. And no matter how deep we dig into the rock, no matter how thick we make the steel of the airlock doors, we always take the main cause of the apocalypse with us, underground.